everybody! Today I want to talk about Zelda from the Legend of Zelda series. So here's the gist. Zelda is one of the main characters of the Legend of Zelda series and is really well known for holding the Triforce of Wisdom. Now, a reincarnation of Zelda shows up in just about every main series game, so we're going to go ahead and talk about every single Zelda throughout the Zelda timeline. The very first time that we see Zelda is also the first game chronologically in the Legend of Zelda timeline, and that is Skyward Sword. In this game, we see the very first Zelda living on an island floating high above the clouds called Skyloft. Her father is Gapora, who is the headmaster of the Knight Academy. This is the school that both Zelda and her childhood friend Link attend. The Academy holds a ceremony called the Wing Ceremony, and Zelda plays the goddess in this ceremony, and Link plays her chosen hero after he wins the race on his Loftwing. As part of this ceremony, Zelda handmade a sailcloth for Link that she gifted him before the two took off for a flight on their Loftwings. While the two are out flying, a twister comes out of nowhere and rips Zelda and her Loftwing out of the sky, and they both tumble below the clouds onto the surface. When Zelda reaches the surface, she's pursued by the demon lord Girahim, but Impa is able to come save her from him. Impa reveals to Zelda that she is the mortal incarnation of the goddess Hylia, so Impa takes her to some springs so that Zelda can purify her body. While Impa and Zelda are at the Earth Spring, they are found by Link, but Impa stops the two from embracing and insists that Zelda must stay on the surface and continue to visit these springs. After visiting all the springs, Zelda and Impa return to the Temple of Time, and they also meet Link there as well. Link and Zelda don't get the reunion that they would like though, as Girahim appears and attacks them. Zelda is able to give her goddess's harp to Link in the midst of all the chaos, and Zelda and Impa jump through the Gate of Time, with Impa destroying it behind them so that Girahim can't follow. Zelda and Impa end up thousands of years in the past, and eventually Link is able to join them after opening another Gate of Time. This is when Zelda tells Link about being the mortal reincarnation of the goddess Hylia, and she tells Link that in order to keep Demise imprisoned, she has to go into a deep sleep. She also tells Link that the goddess Hylia was using Link because she knew that he would do anything to protect Zelda, including destroy Demise. Zelda tells Link that he needs to find the Triforce and use it to destroy Demise so that she'll be able to wake up back in the time that they're originally from. She then seals herself in a crystal and proceeds to sleep for thousands of years in order to hold the seal on Demise. When Zelda awakens back in her own time, Link has used the Triforce to destroy Demise, but Girahim shows up, kidnaps Zelda, and takes her back through the Gate of Time thousands of years in the past, where Demise is still sealed. Back in the past, Girahim does a ritual sacrificing Zelda, and her soul is absorbed, bringing Demise back to his true form. After Link defeats Demise, Zelda's soul is restored, and the two return to their own time once again. Zelda tells Link that she wishes to stay down on the surface and not return to Skyloft so that she can look over the Triforce. When she asks him what he would like to do, he also decides to stay, and this marks the beginning of Hyrule on the surface. The next game up is the Minish Cap, and in this game, the Princess Zelda is well known for sneaking out of the castle so that she can go hang out with her childhood friend, Link. Zelda brings Link to the Picori Festival in Hyrule Castletown with her, but the evil mage Vati shows up and places a curse on Zelda, turning her to stone. Statue Zelda is being held on the roof of the Dark Hyrule Castle by Vati, where he is trying to steal the light force from her. Eventually, though, Link is able to combine all four elements to restore the Picori sword, and he uses it to break the curse on Zelda. We also find out that while Zelda was turned to stone, she was having visions of Link, almost as if she was dreaming. The castle begins to collapse, and Link and Zelda head towards the Elemental Sanctuary. Eventually, Link is able to destroy Vati, and Zelda is able to make a wish on the Triforce. She wishes for peace to return to Hyrule and for all the monsters to go away, so she returns her people back to their normal states. The next game up is Four Swords, and in this game we see that Zelda and Link are once again childhood friends. Zelda is in charge of protecting the Four Swords Sanctuary and also the Four Sword that resides within it. But one day she feels a disturbance inside the sanctuary, so she asks Link to come with her to check it out. Seal on Vati had been weakening, and he was able to break out of his prison in the Four Sword. He kidnapped Zelda to take her to be his bride, and Link was forced to draw the Four Swords so that he could go save her. Vati took Zelda to the Palace of Winds, but eventually Link was able to make his way there and save her, and sealed Vati back in the Four Sword in the process. Next up is Ocarina of Time. We start with a young Princess Zelda who has grown suspicious of the Gerudo King Ganondorf, who has recently sworn loyalty to the king. Zelda had also been having visions of Ganondorf not being loyal to the king, and she expressed these concerns to Impa, but there really wasn't much either of them could do about it. When a boy named Link snuck into the castle garden and saw Zelda looking through the window at Ganondorf, she explained the situation and asked him to help her. She told him that he would need to find the 3 spiritual stones and use them to open the door of time inside the Temple of Time and get a hold of the Triforce before Ganondorf could. While Link is out gathering the 3 spiritual stones, Ganondorf makes his attack on the castle. Impa and Zelda are able to escape on their horse, but Ganondorf is hot on their heels. As they make their way out of Castletown, Zelda sees Link and tosses the Ocarina of Time to him, hoping that he'll be able to keep it safe. Zelda rode off with Impa and was able to remain in hiding for the next 7 years until Link awakened from his sleep in the Sacred Realm. Now for the next 7 years, Zelda remained in hiding and trained in the ways of the Sheikah. She also took up a disguise as well as a different name. She began to call herself Sheik, and she dressed sort of like this. When Link did emerge from the Sacred Realm, Zelda showed up to help him, but she maintained her disguise as well as her alternate name. Once all 6 of the sages were awakened, Zelda finally revealed her true identity to Link as Zelda as well as the 7th sage. Ganondorf had been watching the 2 of them though, and as soon as Zelda revealed who she really was, he kidnapped her and brought her to his tower. Link showed up at the tower to rescue Zelda though, and this is when an epic battle between Link and Ganondorf takes place. During this battle, Link is defeated and Zelda and the other sages are forced to seal Ganondorf within the Sacred Realm, but he also brings the Triforce there with him. This brings us to the Downfall timeline. The first game in the Downfall timeline is A Link to the Past, and in this game, Zelda is one of the 7 maidens who are direct descendants of the sages in Ocarina of Time. Wizard Aghanim kidnaps Zelda and the other maidens and sacrifices them in order to bring Ganondorf back to the Light World. Zelda is hidden away in a crystal prison under Turtle Rock in the Dark World, but of course Link comes to save her. Zelda and the other maidens are able to break the seal surrounding Ganon's lair, and they're able to escape. Link then wishes on the Triforce, and Zelda and the other maidens are able to return peacefully back to Hyrule. The next games in the Downfall timeline are Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. In this game, Zelda is revealed to be the hope of the people. She sends Impa to find Nehru, the Oracle of Ages, and Din, the Oracle of Seasons, and bring them back to Hyrule so that they'll be safe. Zelda is later kidnapped by Twin Rova, and they intend to use her as a sacrifice to resurrect Ganon. Luckily though, Link is able to save her, and eventually all is well in Hyrule again. Next up is A Link Between Worlds, and in this game, Zelda rules the entire kingdom of Hyrule all by herself. She's approached by Link and told that Ceres, one of the sages, has been attacked and turned into a painting by Yuga. She tells Link that he needs to go warn Sasrala in Kakariko Village, and she gives him the Pendant of Courage to prepare for what's about to happen. Link walks in on a confrontation between Zelda and Yuga, and Zelda is telling him that he needs to stop what he's doing and asks him how many people he intends to kidnap. When he tells her that he intends to turn all 7 sages into paintings, she accuses him of trying to bring back Ganon. Now after this, Yuga also turns Zelda into a painting for her beauty and kidnaps her as well. Yuga takes painting Zelda to Lorule and uses her power combined with the other sages to bring Ganon back as well as merge with him. Link of course eventually saves Zelda, and the 2 of them use the Triforce together in order to restore Lorule's Triforce. Next up is the original Legend of Zelda game. In this game, Princess Zelda is part of a long bloodline that has been tasked with protecting the Triforce of Wisdom. Now she knows that Ganon already has the Triforce of Power with him, so she breaks up the Triforce of Wisdom into 8 pieces and hides them across Hyrule. She also sends her handmaid Impa out into the world to try to find a hero that can come help them deal with Ganon. Ganon figures out what Zelda has done and kidnaps her, keeping her behind a wall of flame in his lair in Death Mountain. Link of course is able to save Zelda and peace returns to Hyrule. Next up on the timeline is Adventure of Link. In this game we learn that before the events of Adventure of Link, Hyrule was ruled by a king who had 2 children, one of them being Zelda and the other being her brother. When the king passed away, Zelda's brother was supposed to inherit the entire Triforce, but he only got part of it instead. The wizard came to the prince and told him that Zelda knew where the rest of the Triforce was, and in a rage, the wizard put a spell on Zelda, putting her into an eternal sleep. This spell, though, also killed the wizard casting it in the process. The prince was distraught with how things turned out, and he sealed his sleeping sister in the North Palace, and also decreed that all female descendants of the royal family would be named Zelda from here on out. Through the events of the game, Link is able to obtain the whole Triforce and he breaks the spell that's keeping Zelda asleep. Next, we're going to go on to the child timeline. Now, going back up to Ocarina of Time, when Ganondorf and Link face off, this time Link is successful. After the battle though, Zelda sends Link back in time so that he can stop any of these events from happening. He returns to his own time and warns Zelda about Ganondorf before he's able to take over the world. The first game of the child timeline is Majora's Mask, and we don't see Zelda during this game, but we do learn that before Link left, she gave him the Ocarina of Time and also taught him the Song of Time. That brings us to Twilight Princess. This game, Princess Zelda ruled over Hyrule until Zant and the Twilight invaded, and she was forced to surrender so that her people's lives would be spared. After the Twilight take over Hyrule, Zelda is kept imprisoned in a tower in Hyrule Castle. But the Triforce of Wisdom keeps her from turning into a spirit under the Veil of Twilight like many of the other citizens of Hyrule. Midna brings Link in his wolf form to meet Zelda, and later in the game, Zelda actually sacrifices her own life force in order to save Midna's. When Ganondorf returns to Hyrule Castle, he possesses Zelda's body and uses her as a puppet to fight against Link. His influence is forced out of her, and Midna is able to use her Fuse Shadow and able to return Zelda to normal. During the final battle with Ganondorf in Hyrule Field, the Light Spirits protect Zelda and they also grant her the Light Arrows so that she can assist Link in fighting Ganondorf on horseback. After Ganondorf is slain and Hyrule is returned to peace, Zelda accompanies Link and Midna back to the Mirror of Twilight, where Midna returns to her people. The final game in the child timeline is Four Swords Adventures. At the beginning of this game, ominous clouds begin to form over Hyrule, so Zelda uses her telepathy to summon Link to Hyrule Castle. The two of them join the Shrine Maidens in order to go check out the seal on the Four Sword that's holding Vati within it. Zelda and the other maidens use their magic to check the seal on the Four Sword, but Shadow Link shows up and kidnaps all of them. This was all a trap though, and Link pulls the Four Sword, releasing Vati. Zelda is being held in the Tower of Winds, but eventually Link is able to come save her and the two begin to escape. When they're almost out of the tower though, Link and Zelda are thrown down beneath the tower by Ganon, and Link ends up unconscious. Zelda tries to seal Ganon away all by herself, but she's interrupted and Ganon actually ends up sealing her up instead. While Link battles Ganon, he's able to weaken him enough that the seal on Zelda breaks and she's able to join the fight. They work together to create light arrows to defeat Ganon and they seal him within the Four Sword. Alright, that's going to take us back up to the adult timeline. After the battle with Ganondorf and Ocarina of Time, Link is sent back to the past, and Zelda and the other sages seal Ganon within the Sacred Realm. The first game in the adult timeline is Wind Waker. In this game, spoiler alert for a 19-year-old game, Zelda is actually Tetra, and she doesn't know that she's a descendant of the old Hyrulean royal family. Tetra is a pirate and became the leader of a small group of thieves after her mother passed away. Even though she doesn't know she's royalty, she does know of Hyrule, the Master Sword, and she knows the tales of the hero of time. We first meet Tetra when she's being carried by the Helmarock King over Outset Island, and the rest of the pirates hit the Helmarock King with a cannonball, causing him to drop Zelda into the forest. Link saves Tetra, so in return, after Link's sister is kidnapped, Tetra takes Link to the Forsaken Fortress to try to save her. Tetra launches Link into the Forsaken Fortress, but she slips a pendant into his pocket that will let her talk to him from far away. After Link is thrown from the fortress, Tetra and her pirates end up on Windfall Island, and they're trying to get bombs so that they can find Jaboon, who is hiding in Outset Island. Tetra sees Link eavesdropping on their conversation, but she allows him to steal their bombs and go find Jaboon before they even leave the island. After Link retrieves the Master Sword, Tetra and the other pirates meet him at the Forsaken Fortress. The pirates take the kidnapped girls, including Link's sister Errol, back to safety, while Link goes and confronts the Helmrock King and then later Ganondorf. Tetra also makes her way up to Ganondorf's hideout in the Forsaken Fortress though, and when she gets there, she sees that Ganondorf is very easily overpowering Link. She gets involved to keep him from killing Link. In the process, Ganondorf recognizes the piece of the Triforce of Wisdom that Tetra wears around her neck. Ganondorf realizes that Tetra is Zelda and the girl that he's been searching for all this time. Luckily, Valoo and some Rito show up at the Forsaken Fortress just in time and are able to save Link and Tetra from Ganondorf. The King of Red Lions takes Tetra and Link back to ancient Hyrule, where he reveals himself to not actually be a boat, but the last king of Hyrule himself. The king also merges his fragment of the Triforce of Wisdom with the piece that Tetra was holding, completing the full Triforce of Wisdom and also revealing Tetra to be Princess Zelda. Tetra remains in Hyrule underneath the castle for her safety, and Link heads out to try to assemble the Triforce of Courage. While Link is away, Ganondorf kidnaps Tetra and brings her to his tower. He puts Zelda to sleep and then brings her up to the roof of his tower while Link is too busy fighting his puppet. Tetra's Triforce of Wisdom is combined with Link's Triforce of Courage and Ganondorf's Triforce of Power to create the full Triforce. But just as Ganondorf is about to turn around and make a wish on it, King Daphnis No Hands in Hyrule is there and has already touched the Triforce before Ganondorf got a chance. He wishes for Hyrule to be swallowed up by the sea, and Link and Tetra work together to take on Ganondorf this final time. Link and Tetra beat Ganondorf, and then they're safely taken back to the surface, where they sail off in order to find a new land to call home. Now this brings us to Phantom Hourglass, where we're following the same Link and the same Tetra from Wind Waker. In this game, we see that Tetra has not embraced being Princess Zelda openly, as she still wears her pirate getup, and she gets kind of upset if the other pirates call her Zelda instead of Tetra. During the prologue of the game, Tetra, Link, and the other pirates are out looking for a ghost ship, which has been rumored to be stealing away sailors and people from the local islands. Eventually find the ghost ship, but when Tetra boards it, she disappears. We find that Tetra has been kidnapped by a beast called Bellum, and he has also turned her to stone. After Link defeats Bellum, the curse is broken and Link and Tetra awaken back on the ghost ship. Link and Tetra are told by the crew that they must have been dreaming, because it's only been about 10 minutes since they boarded the ghost ship in the first place. Tetra and Link find that they still have the Phantom Hourglass though, and they also see the SS Linebeck, which was Link's primary mode of transportation during this game, sailing off in the distance. That's all we see of Tetra in the games, but we do know that Link and Tetra went on to found New Hyrule, and we also know that Tetra had a family of her own, because the Zelda in the next game that we're going to talk about is her granddaughter. So the next game in the adult timeline is Spirit Tracks, and we also see a lot more of Zelda in this game because she accompanies Link on most of his journey. Early in the game, Link comes to Hyrule Castle, where Zelda is making him an official train conductor. That's different. Zelda also asks Link to come meet her in her quarters secretly to discuss something with him. She asks him to come with her to investigate the Tower of Spirits due to the Spirit Tracks disappearing. Zelda is actually playable during this part of the game where Link and Zelda are escaping from Hyrule Castle. Zelda and Link ride away from the castle via train, but the train does crash when the tracks start to disappear from beneath them. Chancellor Cole appears and attacks Zelda and takes her body with him so that he can use it to revive the Demon King Malladus. Zelda's spirit escapes though, and she meets back up with Link at the castle. Link is now the only person that can see Zelda, but the two still head off to the Tower of Spirits. While at the tower, Zelda realizes that she can possess phantoms, and she uses that to help Link get through stages of the tower. So Zelda accompanies Link on a journey to restore the Spirit Tracks to keep Malladus from being resurrected. Unfortunately though, Malladus does get resurrected and he possesses Zelda's body. Link defeats this version of Malladus, and the Demon King is able to be held off long enough for Zelda to do a quick prayer to her grandmother, Tetra, then reclaim her body for herself. Zelda, now back in her own body, is able to reveal the weak spot on Malladus's back, and even helps Link finish him off with the Locomo Sword when he can't do it all by himself. Zelda and Link are entrusted by the Locomos to look over this land, and Zelda signs documents allowing Link to pursue his career of choice, either knight or train conductor. So now the only game we have left to talk about is Breath of the Wild. In the latest addition to the Legend of Zelda series, Zelda is not only the Princess of Hyrule, but she's also a scholar and the leader of the champions. Zelda started trying to unlock her power to seal evil when she was a very young girl, but without her mother, she didn't have anyone to teach her how to do it. She kind of just had to figure it out on her own. Eventually, Zelda began feeling the presence of Ganon, and so she devoted herself to learning how she could stop him. She also met with a fortune teller who told her of the prophecy of Ganon returning and told her that there wasn't much time left until that happened. The very next day, Zelda was appointed a knight to protect her, and that of course was Link. At first, Zelda really wasn't happy about having someone following her around protecting her all the time. She also really resented him for making her feel like more of a failure because he seemed to be able to wield the Master Sword so easily, but she still couldn't unlock her powers to seal evil. She maintained these feelings towards Link until one day she got attacked by 3 assassins from the Yiga clan. When she was about to be killed, Link jumped in at the last minute, killing one of the Yiga assassins and chasing the other 2 off. Zelda starts to value his protection much more after this encounter. The two grow really close after this, and only after Link is nearly killed do Zelda's powers awaken. She returns the Master Sword to its pedestal in the Lost Woods, and she orders Link to be taken to the Shrine of Resurrection so that he can heal from his wounds. Zelda then returns to Hyrule Castle all by herself to take on the Calamity Ganon. Zelda uses these newly awoken sealing powers to seal herself in the castle with Calamity Ganon until Link is able to recover and come rescue her once again. Link wakes up, we see that Zelda has telepathic powers in this game and is able to help guide him through Hyrule and guide him to her. Together they're able to defeat Calamity Ganon and bring Hyrule back to a peaceful state that it hasn't seen in a long time. That's all that we've seen of Zelda in the current game so far, but we have seen her in the trailer for the upcoming sequel to Breath of the Wild. In this trailer we see Link and Zelda traversing caverns far below Hyrule Castle when they stumble upon the mummified corpse of Ganondorf. He's being held by the chest by kind of an ethereal hand, and there's also malice being attracted to him. I'm really excited to see more of Zelda in the upcoming game, and I'm just honestly really excited for another Zelda game to come out. It's been 4 years since Breath of the Wild released. That's insane. That's all I've got for you. I really hope you guys liked the video. I'm going to be posting videos every single Wednesday, so go ahead and like and subscribe to my channel if you want to see when those get posted. Also leave me a comment if you want to chat with me or just suggest a topic for the next video. Thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.